You know, when you think about the ocean plastic crisis, it's so easy to feel, well, completely overwhelmed. It just feels like this huge, unsolvable disaster. But what if I told you it's not? What if it's actually a complex problem, yeah, but one with a really clear, achievable solution? Here at Elisi, that's exactly what we believe. And today, we're going to walk you through that solution step by step.
So, before we dive into anything else, we have to get one thing straight. This one idea, right here, is the foundation for everything we're about to talk about. The simple fact that prevention is 10 to 100 times more cost-effective than cleanup. This shapes our entire strategy. It's the whole ballgame.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to really wrap our heads around the scale of the crisis. Then, we'll lay out a clear path to reducing it. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of the solutions, prevention first, then cleanup, and we'll finish up by talking about the incredibly important role that you play in all this.
Okay, first things first, if you want to solve a problem this big, you have to be brutally honest about its size. So let's take a good, hard look at the numbers. 11 million tons. That is the insane amount of new plastic that finds its way into our oceans every single year. Just try to picture that. It's a volume of pollution that's almost impossible to wrap your head around, and we're just adding it to the pile year after year.
And that's just the new stuff. That's on top of what's already floating around out there. We estimate that there's already up to 199 million tons of legacy plastic accumulated in our seas. That's the junk from decades ago, still out there, still causing harm right now.
But here's the goal. It's ambitious, for sure, but it's also absolutely necessary. The target is to slash the amount of floating ocean plastic by 90% by the year 2040. It sounds like a moonshot, I know, but as we're about to show you, it is totally possible.
And why is this so urgent? Well, the cost of doing nothing is just staggering. We're talking about over $13 billion in damage to marine ecosystems every year. It affects more than 800 species, and it's directly contaminating our food chain. This isn't just an environmental problem, it's an economic and a human health crisis.
So, how in the world do we hit that 90% reduction target? The answer isn't some single magic bullet solution. The key, and this is so important, is a diversified portfolio of solutions that all work together, attacking the problem from every single angle.
And this is what that portfolio looks like. This is our realistic pathway. Look at the biggest slice of the pie. A full 50% is source reduction. That's just stopping the plastic at the source, turning off the tap. After that comes intercepting it in rivers, collecting it on coastlines, and finally, that last slice is cleaning up the legacy plastic that's already in the ocean.
Look, our research on this is crystal clear. The only way this works is with a comprehensive strategy. You have to hit the problem at every single stage, from the moment it's designed in a factory, to the river it might flow into, all the way to the open ocean. It's an approach that looks at the entire life of a piece of plastic.
Okay, let's zoom in on the biggest and most important parts of that portfolio. We're starting with prevention and interception, because these are, by far, our most powerful and cost-effective lines of defense.
Think of these two as a 1-2 punch. Source reduction, on the left, that's all about turning off the tap. It's about stopping plastic from ever becoming waste in the first place. Then you have river interception on the right. That's our safety net, right? It's designed to catch whatever slips through the cracks before it hits the vast open ocean, where it becomes so much harder to deal with.
So how do you actually reduce plastic at the source? Well, one of the most powerful tools we have is a policy called Extended Producer Responsibility, or EPR. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is simple. It makes the manufacturers, the producers, financially responsible for what happens to their products at the end of their life. This gives them a real economic reason to design things that are easier to recycle and to actually invest in better ways to collect it all.
Now for rivers, and this is where it gets really mind-blowing. It turns out that a whopping 80% of all the plastic pollution coming from rivers flows from just 1,000 of them. 1,000 rivers globally. This is a total game changer. It means we don't have to be everywhere at once. We can be incredibly strategic, focus our efforts on these key waterways, and get a massive, outsized impact.
But what about all that plastic that's already out there? I mean, that 199 million tons. Prevention is absolutely key, but we can't just ignore the mess we've already made. We have to clean it up, and that means investing in some seriously cool and innovative new technologies.
And the innovation happening here is just awesome.
I mean, on the huge scale, you've got these massive ocean barriers like System 03 that are literally pulling tons of trash out of the Great Garbage Patches. Then in our harbors, you have automated sea bins that are just munching on trash 24/7. We're even seeing fleets of autonomous robots working together. And it's not just big stuff, it goes right down to our homes with simple things like microfiber filters for our washing machines that stop pollution before it even starts.
Now, this chart really shows you the tricky thing about microplastics. In those giant garbage patches, they make up 94% of the number of pieces of plastic. But they only account for 8% of the total weight. So you have this huge number of tiny, tiny fragments. They're like a pervasive plastic smog, and they're almost impossible to clean up once they're out there. This is exactly why stopping the big stuff from breaking down in the first place is so critical.
But I want to be clear. Large-scale cleanup absolutely works, and the results can be just breathtaking. Just look at Versova Beach in Mumbai. Over a few years, volunteers removed an incredible 10 million kilograms of debris. 10 million! The beach was completely transformed. And the best part? All of Ridley's sea turtles came back to nest there for the first time in decades. It just goes to show ecological recovery is possible.
Okay, so we've looked at the global problem and the portfolio of big solutions. But this isn't just a story about big tech and governments. Now we're going to bring it right back home and talk about what might be the most important piece of the puzzle: you.
You know, making a real tangible difference in your own neighborhood is way more achievable than you might think. Organizing a cleanup really just comes down to these simple steps. It's about getting people together, sure, but the last step is crucial: collecting and submitting data. When you log what you find, you're not just cleaning up, you're becoming a citizen scientist, contributing to the data that helps us push for real policy change.
And please, don't forget that your daily choices have a ripple effect that turns into a massive wave of change. These here are some of the highest impact swaps you can make. Every reusable bag you use, every bottle you refill, every time you choose to buy in bulk, it all adds up. You're sending a message, you're voting with your wallet, and you're stopping waste before it even gets created.
And if you want to take it a step further, you can support the amazing organizations that are out there on the front lines every day. There are so many different ways to help. You've got the tech-focused approach of the ocean cleanup, the huge volunteer network of the Ocean Conservancy, or even the social enterprise model of Plastic Bank, which brilliantly tackles both pollution and poverty at the same time. This, right here, is the thing I really want you to take away from all this. It's so easy to feel like one person can't possibly make a difference against a problem this huge. But that's just not how change ever happens. It's your individual actions, multiplied by millions of other people doing the same thing, that create the powerful groundswell needed to force real, systemic change. So in the end, it really all comes down to this. The pathway forward is clear. The technology we need, it's proven and it works. The economic argument for taking action is a total no-brainer. The only thing left, the only question mark, is our collective will to do it. So I'll just leave you with that question. Will we choose to act?